Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and welcome to another Top 10 LEGO video. So over the years, LEGO has made a ton of different LEGO animal molds. You can see a selection of them in the drawer right there, but LEGO has really made hundreds and hundreds of different animals. And so it makes total sense that some of these animals are going to be rarer than others. And so, for today's featured Top 10 LEGO video, we'll be counting down the top 10 rarest and most expensive LEGO animal molds. These are essentially the brick-built or the actual molded animals that were introduced in LEGO sets as part of licensed themes or non-licensed themes alike. Really, if it's an animal that got a special mold, it is considered to be qualified on this list. So to get the data for this list, I went on Bricklink and took a look at the used price averages for each of the animals. I do want to note that again, because of the nature of the market, these prices tend to fluctuate quite a bit. And since I record my videos well in advance, I would imagine that at least some of the nitty-gritty details in terms of the exact prices will change by the time I record this video and by the time it actually gets put out. That being said, I'm fairly confident that the top 10 most expensive LEGO animals list will pretty much stay about the same in general, because really they don't tend to fluctuate too much in terms of the comparisons between themselves. One last thing I do want to mention before we start the list is that this is specifically on animals that are not dinosaurs. The reason for this is because dinosaurs are kind of priced differently on their own because they're so rare and typically we only ever get one of them in one set. The dinosaurs kind of have their own price categories, and oftentimes even a brand new dinosaur will be already $30, $40 just to get it brand new, which even if it's still retail available on shelves, people will still want to pay extra so they don't have to buy the entire set. With that in mind, because the list is probably not going to be too interesting if it's just a bunch of different T-Rexes from recent sets, I figured we're not going to include the dinosaurs on this list, and we'll be creating another top 10 video specifically focused on the rarest LEGO dinosaurs, because in fact, one of them is worth over $3,000 US. So be sure to stay tuned for that, where we'll focus specifically on the dinosaurs, but for now, we're just going to take a look at all of the other animals. So without further ado, let's just jump right into our number 10 pick.
So starting off with number 10 here, we have an animal from the LEGO Star Wars franchise. This is the Dewback creature, as seen in Episode 4 and some other different Star Wars media, specifically from the Tatooine Cantina scene. This is one of the newer versions of the Dewback that just was released very recently, actually, in one of the most recent Mos Eisley Cantina Master Builder sets. What I do find to be really interesting about this is that arguably this new animal is a bit of a downgrade over the older one. You see, in 2014, we got a dedicated, newer Dewback mold which had teeth printed on the underside of the mouth. So when you open the jaw, you could see the teeth on the bottom and on the top. For whatever reason, LEGO slightly changed the print on the newer Dewback and removed the printing of the teeth on the upper part of the mouth, which means this animal really only has lower teeth. For whatever reason though, this is a lot more expensive than the older Dewback, probably because it came in a much more expensive set, and given its limited status as a Master Builder Series exclusive set, this is definitely one of the hardest animals to get a hold of, retailing at around $26 average on Bricklink. With that though, we can now move on to number 9. This is again one from a licensed LEGO franchise, this time from Harry Potter, and this is the LEGO Basilisk, which was introduced in 2002. Now we actually have seen more LEGO Basilisks made in the future, but this, to be honest, is probably one of the best ones. We did just get a brand new mold for a Basilisk head in 2021, but this was a truly specialized, dedicated mold for the Basilisk that coincided with the 2002 release of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Definitely there are some things about this animal that are not really too modern. It's using a lot of the older style of dinosaur pieces, particularly in the middle sections of the body, and it certainly is very simplified and juniorized for what it is, but it definitely has the classic LEGO charm, and even though you can't open and close the jaw like you can on the newer ones, this just has a very specialized LEGO feel to it, right down to the teeth being made up of very special, exclusive, glow-in-the-dark LEGO knife elements. The Basilisk retails for around $30 on Bricklink, so it's not too expensive, but it's still one of the more expensive animals. It's fairly comparable to the newer Dewback in terms of price, so I wouldn't be surprised if the order of these were to swap at some point. Moving onwards, we have our next pick at number 8. This is actually from one of the original LEGO Castle lines, specifically LEGO Kingdoms in 2011. And this is the Black Falcon's Kingdom's Horse. Now what's really interesting is that the horse itself is nothing special. It is literally just the standard black Lego horse, which we've seen a ton of times. So the horse is not the expensive part about this animal. What is expensive, however, is the very specialized Black Falcon inspired coat of arms / livery that you can see on the horse right here. Specifically, this one piece is what's really expensive about this particular animal. Everything else about it is really common, but this one piece alone will set you back around $33 on Bricklink, especially because this one figure only came in the LEGO Kingdoms Joust set, which was a direct-to-consumer set, which was the largest set that we ever got from Kingdoms. You can see the knight that came with it also had a specialized newer style of the Black Falcon sword, and definitely has a lot of really interesting printing given that it was representing one of the classic LEGO Castle factions. With that though, we can now move on to number 7. And with number 7, we now take a look at the LEGO Elves Dragons. So what's interesting about these is that of course the LEGO Elves Dragons were brick built, and a lot of these sets are really expensive nowadays. But in terms of specific molded animals, we got a whole suite of specialized dual molded baby dragons, which you can see in a set of different eggs right here. Now all the eggs can be seen on this platform right here, so you can see all the different dragons, but there is, for whatever reason, one specific dragon that is the rarest of them all. And that dragon is the Rain Dragon, which is the blue-inspired dragon for the water element, which you can see right here. For whatever reason, this is the most expensive and rarest baby LEGO Elves dragon, retailing for $40 US on Bricklink. I had to imagine this is because it was in one of the larger elf sets, but to be honest, a lot of these dragons were actually locked to larger sets, so I'm not really sure why this one in particular was singled out to be the most expensive, but it definitely blows all of the other ones out of the water, although they are still pretty expensive, and if you want to own them all, be prepared to shell out quite a few dollars to get the entire pack of baby elves dragons. But with that, let's now move on to number 6. This is actually an animal from an original LEGO theme again. This is from LEGO City, specifically the Jungle Expedition line that came out around 2016. Now this is the tiger animal. It was only released in one of the largest LEGO City Jungle Expedition sets. Thankfully, back in the day, you could actually order these off of Bricks and Pieces for only around $10 to $12. Unfortunately, not very many people knew about this, which is why on Bricklink nowadays, the tiger itself costs an average of $42 US. The design of the tiger animal is pretty much the same exact mold as most of the other big cats. We got a black panther through this, we got a leopard, all sorts of different animals, and more recently, just last year, we got a modification to this mold in the regular lion. However, this is the only time we ever got a tiger, and until LEGO decides to, say, release a zoo or something, I can't imagine them doing the tiger again, which is why I really appreciate getting it in this One City set, and probably why it's so rare nowadays. Moving on from that, we can get to number 5. We have another real-world animal. This is actually going back several years into the past, all the way back in 2003 for the LEGO sub-theme of adventurers called Orient Expedition. This is the light gray elephant. Now, funnily enough, LEGO actually just came out with a brand new mold for an elephant just last year in their City Wildlife sub-theme, but this one was the original mold. It's reusing a lot of their 2003 dinosaurs parts, so it doesn't necessarily look too accurate, but again, this is very similar to the basilisk in which it has the very classic LEGO animal charm. The elephant is actually really interesting because it's actually more buildable than you may think. While at first it may look like a collection of different molded pieces, as you can see here, you can actually fully take apart the elephant. The trunk separates from the head, the body splits off into 4 different pieces, the legs are just solid chunks of pieces themselves, but there's even bits and pieces of Technic elements that are able to be included to attach certain things together. You've got the trunk, the legs, the head, the ears, all sorts of different pieces that make up this fantastic animal. Now, interestingly enough, Orient Expedition had 2 different kinds of elephants for their sub-theme, a light gray elephant and a dark gray elephant. However, the light gray one is actually the cheaper of the 2. We're going to be seeing the dark gray one a little bit later in this list, because the light gray one, despite coming in a larger set, was in a more regular release set, versus the dark gray that came in a slightly limited release set. You see, this light gray elephant retails for around $44 US, whereas the dark gray retails for a little more. With that though, we can now move on to our number 4 pick on this list. And coming in at number 4, we have a very special variant of the LEGO Octopus. Now this octopus, originally the mold was released all the way back in 1998 for the Aquazone theme. It actually survived all the way up to around 2009 and beyond. Even 2014 had some where it was used for pirate stuff. But specifically, this glow-in-the-dark variant of the octopus only came in one specific LEGO set from one theme, LEGO Agents, in 2009. This was LEGO's second kind of super spy, secret agent sub-theme, and this one featured a mission with a submarine and an underwater escape, which of course featured this massive glow-in-the-dark octopus to terrorize either the villains or the heroes of the set. Now, this is probably my favorite molding of the octopus myself. I'm a big fan of the glow-in-the-dark features. Obviously, there's nothing actually that can be moved around with this. It's just a solid piece, but it's a really nice piece to have. I really do like the way it looks, and it definitely is my favorite underwater animal, or at least one of my favorites that they've ever done for LEGO. The octopus itself retails for around $60 US for a single LEGO piece, which in my opinion is kinda ridiculous, but for an animal this cool, I'd say it's kinda worth it. Moving on to number 3, we have the dark gray version of the elephant from Orient Expedition. Last I checked, this was averaging at $65 US. However, I could probably imagine it would even climb in price as the years go on. Because this is a really special color, it's probably a little bit more realistic as a slightly more muddier or dirtier elephant than the other ones, so I definitely do like the dark gray color scheme. You may notice my personal version of this elephant unfortunately is missing an ear. Somehow during the years I managed to crack one of the ears off, which is very much a tragedy, but it also does go to speak that definitely this was not the most solid of constructions. There were things that could be snapped off or broken, which is why LEGO does things differently today. The dark gray elephant is literally identical to the light gray one we just looked at, except it's in dark gray and costs around $25 more. Moving onwards, we are moving into our top 2 LEGO animals that are the rarest among them all. And starting off with number 2, we have the infamous LEGO Goat. Now, if you're in the A-Full circle, you already probably know why this goat is so rare, but in case you aren't, let me give a brief backstory. You see, back in 2011 for LEGO Kingdoms, LEGO released a set called the Mill Village Raid. It was pretty much one of the only civilian-styled fantasy-like sets that they ever made for Kingdoms besides one much smaller set, and it came chock full with a ton of specialized LEGO animals, many of which we still have not seen again. However, the only exclusive animal mold was this goat. And this goat was just very recently confirmed to have its mold have been destroyed by LEGO. In fact, LEGO designer Mark Stafford actually mentioned on Eurobricks he tried to include the goat in a Jurassic Park T-Rex set, but was told by the higher-ups at LEGO that the mold was destroyed and there were no plans to bring it back. Of course, this news sent everyone into a goat-buying frenzy. If it wasn't rare before, you bet it was rare now. And now this single, tiny animal is worth $80 on average on Bricklink, which has climbed to a significantly high degree, especially because just a couple of years ago it was only around $50 to $60. I can imagine the price of this will continue to go up until LEGO releases another molded goat, so get them while you can, I guess. With that, we can now move on to the number 1 pick of the rarest LEGO animal and most expensive animal they have ever made. And that is a licensed animal, Smaug from the Hobbit series. Now, this is hands down the best molded dragon LEGO has ever done. It came out around 2014 to coincide with the Desolation of Smaug movie, and boy was this the most fantastically detailed dragon pretty much ever. You see, the wings have this really cool feature where they're actually rubberized. You can fold up the wings to cause them to be furled inwards, and then you can furl them outwards to go into attack or flight mode. The jaw, the head, the neck, the body, the tail, the legs, pretty much everything about this was a completely specialized mold, and that made this the most special and intricate dragon they have ever done. The claws can be posed on the tips of the wings. It is overall a really cool dragon in general, and it's really definitely the most impressive one they have ever made. I only wish that they were able to reuse those wings, which may I add are fantastic for Bionicle MOCs because they are ball joint mounted, for other LEGO sets. Heck, if even a Bionicle set they could have thrown it in. But as of right now, almost every single piece is exclusive and remains exclusive to this dragon. Which is why Smaug the Dragon retails for a whopping $240 on average on Bricklink, which in my opinion is insane. But with that, we have summed up the top 10 rarest LEGO animals, and let me know what you think.
Alright, and with that, we have summed up our list of the top 10 rarest and most expensive LEGO molded animals. Let me know down in the comments below, do you own any of these? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? Or are there any that you really haven't on the hunt for yourself? I hope you enjoyed this video, and do stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thank you so much, and bye-bye for now.